If you still find yourself struggling with unhealthy relationships, even though you have done everything right, from reading self-help books, hiring a dating coach, learning to meditate, and maybe even spending beaucoup bucks in talk therapy, and you're still not seeing any changes, you're probably left wondering, how do I break unhealthy patterns in love? Well, if this sounds familiar, then you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video, because we are going to talk about the intersections between nurture and nature, and how your life experiences and the life experiences of your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and beyond can directly affect your DNA, and as a result, impact your attachment style. We are also going to explore some hopeful lessons through an exploration of post-traumatic growth. By the end of this video, you will be able to stop beating yourself up for things that are beyond your control and accept that your hard wiring compels you in ways that are intended to protect you. With this new knowledge, you will be able to debunk some painful core beliefs you may carry about yourself and open up to new opportunities for growth, even if you've experienced significant attachment and relationship traumas in your life. This video series is derived from my online course, Healing Attachment Wounds with Mindfulness and Creative Arts Interventions. If you would like to learn more and take advantage of a special discount, I invite you to check out the link in the caption of this video. Now, before we dive in, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Briana MacWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign, so they can attract the soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want. And I do this using a psycho-spiritual approach to creative arts interventions, which I call the MacWilliam method. The content on my YouTube channel is derived from my online courses, which you can learn more about through the link in the caption of this video. If you would like to learn more about your attachment style, you can take the 4-question quiz. If you like what you see and hear and you want to learn more, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put up videos once a week, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. In our first video of this series, 4 Healing Phases for Attachment Styles in Relationships, we introduced the 4 attachment styles in detail. Today, we are going to discuss how attachment styles can affect us through our genetics and our DNA. Now, if you are wondering how to heal unhealthy and yet cyclical patterns in love, inevitably you will arrive at the threshold of nature versus nurture. Is it possible for the experiences of our ancestors to have an effect on you, your children, or your grandchildren, and beyond? Well, the answer is yes. But is it only through your genetic inheritance, or is it also through your childhood and upbringing? Well, it turns out that it is both. The life experiences of your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and beyond can directly affect your genes and the resulting behavior. To start, I'm going to introduce a term called intergenerational trauma. Sometimes it is simply referred to as generational trauma or transgenerational trauma. Intergenerational trauma is trauma that isn't just experienced by one person, but extends from one generation to the next. Domestic abuse, sexual assault, hate crimes, and other acts of violence can be transmitted through intergenerational trauma. And there are specific populations that are particularly vulnerable to this due to their histories. Being systematically exploited, enduring racism, repeated abuses, and/or poverty are all traumatic enough to cause intergenerational trauma. Additionally, populations that have suffered from natural disasters or decades of warfare could also struggle from intergenerational trauma. Intergenerational trauma can be expressed through learned beliefs and behaviors. These patterns of behavior and attitude can become ingrained into our sense of personal identity. This kind of wiring impacts our personalities, relationships, parenting and communication, and our general worldview, but it can also affect your body. So let's talk about trauma and the body and its impact on your DNA. In 2004, researchers in Epigenetics suggested that trauma in your ancestry could leave molecular markers on your DNA, specifically your DNA methylation. In mammals, DNA methylation is essential for normal development and is associated with a number of key processes in how your genes express themselves. In a series of famous experiments using rats that were either highly attentive or highly inattentive, researchers found that pups of inattentive mothers had highly methylated genes regulating sensitivity to stress hormones in the hippocampus region. The hippocampus is located in the limbic brain, or the primitive brain, and responsible for the formation of new memories. And it is also associated with learning and emotion. In contrast, pups of the conscientious mothers had unmethylated genes. This means that those pups with an inattentive parent had an overactive stress response system and were comparatively more nervous and fearful. In 2012, researchers further demonstrated that the genes responsible for their brain growing and developing normally were impaired. This suggests that the babies of the anxious parents may have a genetic predisposition to experience difficulties in learning, attention, focus, meaning-making, impulse control, and higher-order executive functioning, which are all tasks of the neocortex. This also suggests that adults who grew up with abusive or neglectful parents, or parents that struggled to find resources, or parents that were just plain stressed out all the time, inherited more than just models and memories for attitude and behavior. They inherited through their very DNA a predisposition and a sensitivity to respond to their environment in a very particular way, ways that might express themselves behaviorally and attitudinally through patterns of coping, which we might then label an attachment style. Additionally, Omri Gillith, a social neuroscientist, has conducted MRI studies to understand the underlying mechanisms of attachment. In one such study, participants were asked to think about 5 different scenarios. Number 1, a neutral scenario, like driving for an hour. Number 2, a neutral scenario in which you would be doing something with a partner, like shopping for groceries. Number 3, having a fight with your partner, maybe about who takes out the garbage. Number 4, imagining a more intensive, aversive situation, like your partner has packed their bags and they're leaving you. And number 5, imagining your partner has died or was killed in an accident. After being prompted to consider these scenarios, the participants were asked to stop thinking about these scenarios for 2 minutes. Ultimately, Gillith found that individuals with anxiety had lower brain activity in the areas responsible for control and emotional regulation, which means they were more emotionally aroused and less able to control their reaction to it. Secure and avoidant participants, however, were able to use strategies to neutralize their emotional response to the negative stimulus. For example, secure participants reported going to their happy place, whereas the avoidant participants would think of something neutral, like their shopping list. Anxious people still followed the directive and did not think of the specified scenarios, but their minds would go to something topically related and equally, if not more negatively, stimulating. For example, one anxious participant reported thinking of the death of her grandfather. So her mind took her someplace darker and even more personally relevant, the death of someone close to her. Gillith also found that individuals that were increasingly insecure also had smaller hippocampuses. This is the same part of the brain that gets smaller for individuals with post-traumatic stress. The implication is that attachment insecurity has the same effect as going through a significant trauma. Now, I would like to pause here a moment and ask, how does knowing that your genes and your DNA may affect your sensitivity to your partners and your environments impact you? Does it reduce any stigma for you surrounding attachment styles, or does it make it worse? Do you find yourself feeling more hopeful or hopeless? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Now, if you find yourself feeling a little bit discouraged with all this, I would like to leave you on a hopeful note and talk a little bit more about post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth is a theory that explains the radical transformations that many people experience following a trauma. It was developed by doctors Tedeschi and Calhoun in the 1990s, and it holds that people who struggle psychologically following adversity can experience growth afterwards. People develop new understandings of themselves, the world that they live in, how to relate to other people, the kind of future they may have, and a better understanding on how to live life. Now, it's important to note that post-traumatic growth is different than resilience. Resiliency is the personal attribute or ability to bounce back, whereas post-traumatic growth, on the other hand, refers to what can happen to someone who has difficulty bouncing back, experiences a trauma that shakes them to their core and challenges their most essentially held beliefs. Usually, they then experience psychological struggle to then eventually find a sense of personal growth. And it is a process that takes a lot of time and energy. Now, someone who is already resilient and experiences a trauma doesn't experience post-traumatic growth because a resilient person is not rocked to their core by the event and does not then have to reconstruct their belief systems. Now, less resilient people, on the other hand, experience distress and confusion as they try to understand, why did this terrible thing happen to me? And what does it mean for me in the context of my life? Now, to evaluate the degree to which someone has experienced growth after a trauma, Drs. Tedeschi and Calhoun did develop a scale. It's called the Post-Traumatic Growth Inventory. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I have provided a link to that in the caption of this video. I have noticed that people usually have one of two reactions to the information in this video. Number one, they feel relieved to know there is a concrete reason for feeling as anxious as they do, and now they can take more pinpointed and conscientious actions to address it, without beating themselves up and feeling like they have some kind of character flaw. Now, on the other hand, secondly, some folks feel increasingly hopeless because they think if my hardwiring is faulty, then there must be nothing I can do about it or to change the way I experience my life and circumstances. To this, I would remind you that research has demonstrated that environmental factors can function protectively for individuals that are inherently more sensitive and/or anxious. There are things you can do to strengthen your nervous system and shift your experience of your own body and the way that you move through the world. Now, I think the concept of post-traumatic growth is significant, particularly for individuals with insecure attachment styles, because your attachment styles often influence your core beliefs about yourself and the possibilities for love in the world. Healing your attachment style means changing your core beliefs and embodying a new energetic charge associated with those new beliefs, if you are to feel any differently. That means rewiring the subconscious programs that typically run habitually and unacknowledged in the background of your mind. And the subconscious mind responds well to small and steady changes in perception. With my method, the MacWilliam method, we affect these changes using experiential practices that tap into your life force energy. In other words, your creative energy is applied through things like cognitive reframing, mindfulness-based practices, storytelling, guided imagery and visualization, symbolism, metaphor, movement, art making, and so on and so forth. These are fun, easy, playful, and joyful ways to activate the body and rewire your nervous system and synaptic pathways. And my method works. For example, Stacy came to purchase this course after dissolving a 17-year marriage and finding herself in a complicated roller coaster relationship. Learning more about the framework of attachment theory and utilizing the experiential exercises were Stacy's favorite aspects of the program.
I just think if anybody is struggling with a roller coaster relationship, a push and pull dynamic, something where you find yourself wanting to be in one minute and out the next, and being on the fence about that, this is hands down the most helpful course. And I'm somebody who's been in therapy for 4 years. Like, this is hands down the most helpful course I've ever done.
Now, when Eva decided to purchase this course, she was intellectually able to see her unhealthy patterns in relating, but was unable to really break out of them. The experiential exercises allowed Eva to get in touch with her emotions and to release them. A modified family drawing activity, which asks you to identify the energetic cords between you and your family members, was one of Eva's favorite activities.
Yeah, when I looked at the course and decided to enroll, I was very much looking at stopping unhealthy patterns that I've been repeating all my life in intimate relationships. So I could intellectually see those patterns, but I was unable to break out of them. So that's the main reason why I came. I've done counseling before, I've done a lot of reading and self-help books, but although intellectually I understood them, I didn't seem to be able to break it. And then I came across the course and I thought this would be really helpful to do and really useful. So I enrolled and I'm really glad I did. It's made a big difference to me. I'm sure that you've read the books. I'm sure that you've gone to a counselor like I did. And it's intellectual. This course will give the experiential. It will bring the two things together. It will help you feel your emotions, go to your body and kind of process through that.
possibilities. To learn more, I invite you to check out my course, Healing Attachment Wounds with Mindfulness and Creative Arts Interventions, through a link in the caption of this video. You will be able to access it at a special rate. Now, the truth is, the most crucial information already exists within you. And the body is not immutable. It has an intimate relationship with your mind, your consciousness, and your life force energy, which you can learn to focus and channel as you will. The only reason my method, the MacWilliam method, is so effective is because it builds a bridge to help you access more of you, your own spirit's inner wisdom. Once that happens, your energy flows with authenticity, and you just light up the room like a beacon. Boundaries become clear. Healthy discernment and decision-making flows so much more easily. You feel revitalized by your own passions and pursuits. And you cannot help become a super attractor of high-quality partners. Now, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Make sure you give me a like and a comment if you would like to learn more. And stay tuned for the next video that we are going to drop in this series, where we are going to talk more about trauma and the survival brain. Thank you for watching.